everyone, welcome to PC Perspective. Today we're going to take a look at a new product we just got in the office, a Zotac ZBOX Plus Nano XS AD13. That's a lot of model numbers and names that you have to remember. This was actually just shown at CES for the first time, I believe. It's an updated version of their kind of mini computing platform. And what's interesting about this design is, you know, they've actually done this for a while. Zotac was one of the main proponents of PCs this size for quite some time. But with the release of the Intel NUC, the next unit of computing, suddenly computers this size became a lot more interesting and important, and people wanted to see some side-by-sides and comparisons. So the basic specs of this unit, if we go ahead and take a look at the box, it's AMD APU based. So it's an E2 1800 APU that's actually Brazos 2.0, runs at 1.7 gigahertz dual core. It has the AMD Radeon HD 7340 graphics, which maybe sounds a little bit more impressive than it turned out to be. You know, we'll talk about performance in a little bit. This actually comes as a complete system, right? So it actually includes 64 gig SSD and 2 gigs of memory. The 64 gig SSD and the memory are both from Kingston. It is a single DIMM. There's only a single DIMM slot inside the device, and it is a SATA 3 gigabit per second drive, even though the internal mSATA port can support 6 gigabit. It has things like gigabit Ethernet, 802.11, in Wi-Fi, could have a USB adapter, memory card reader, all that kind of stuff. Inside the box, you obviously get the device itself. This is the AD13 right here, and if we kind of do a side-by-side of it with the Intel NUC on this, this is a little bit smaller. It's almost the same size, but it's just maybe a tiny bit smaller. Not really anything that's going to be super noticeable, although the Zotac is noticeably lighter. Also inside the box you get your AC adapter, you get optical audio adapter, you get a remote control and IR receiver for Windows Media Center. This works on Windows 7 and Windows 8 if you've got the Windows 8 Media Center upgrade there. This is your Wi-Fi adapter, 802.11n. I question the range on it a little bit because it is such a small device, and also it only goes in these specific USB ports because it's a little bit thicker than normal. It won't fit into those USB ports, but it will fit into that. So that's, oh, and also I don't want to forget this, you do have a VESA mount here, so you can attach it to the back of a TV, the back of a monitor, really pretty easily like that, so it works out pretty well. Now, if we look at the device itself, it's very shiny on the top. On the front, you've got your power button, you've got a memory card reader, you've got an eSATA/USB 2.0 port, you've got your audio connections, mic and headphones, and then this can obviously be converted into an optical audio output. On the sides, you've got venting, right? So this is the heatsink for the APU and chipset, and then you've got a little bit of air intake ventilation here. If we look at the back, power, HDMI is really your only video output. You've got 2 USB 3.0 ports, which is nice, gigabit Ethernet, and 2 more USB 2.0 ports, but again, one of them will be used for the Wi-Fi if you choose to use that. I will say the device is a little bit louder than I expected, a little bit louder than the Intel NUC, because the fan spins a little bit faster because of it. Let's go ahead and take a look at the insides here. If you look at the bottom, you know, you get really nice, easy way to do the VESA mounting here, but the feet actually are simple thumb screws to access the inside. Now this comes pre-loaded with the hardware. Obviously you have to bring your own operating system, but we can see in here, if I actually unscrew this one all the way, the top level of the inside of the unit. You've got your 64 gig mSATA SSD there. You've got your single DIMM slot here, 2 gigs DDR3 1333. If you look on the other side of it, when we take this out and flip it over, you'll see that we have the heatsink and fan covering the APU and the chipset, the E2 1800 APU. It's a pretty simple design, not exactly compatible with the Intel NUC hardware or anything like that. You're not going to be able to swap cases or do anything to that degree, but fairly well designed little part. Now, when we talk about performance, there are some issues here, right? We compare these two devices. They're very similar in size, but they're not very close in performance. The processor performance, the CPU performance of this has an Ivy Bridge part in it, and this is using Brazos 2.0. So the performance difference was pretty severe. If you look at our benchmarks, we just did a couple of like H.264 benchmarks, SiSoft benchmarks, things that you would use to standard look at CPU performance in that way. GPU performance is also surprising. Well, maybe not surprising, but the Ivy Bridge graphics ran our 3D Mark test a little bit faster as well. Day-to-day use performance for the Zotac AD13 was pretty good. You could go watch YouTube videos doing 1080p videos. You would get some stutters, you would get some jumps and that kind of thing, which was a little bit of a letdown that you do not get on a device like this. But if you were browsing the internet, that kind of thing, this is definitely going to get the job done. And it's one benefit that it has over these other devices like Intel's 4x4 next unit of computing is the cost, right? So when we did our NUC review, this unit fully outfitted, because when you buy it, it's bare bones. It doesn't come with an SSD, doesn't come with wireless, doesn't come with memory either. You're talking about a $600 or above total purchase price for this particular unit. Now, it does have things like Thunderbolt on it that this doesn't have, but we don't have the exact pricing of this model yet because it was still just shipping out to resellers. If it follows the other Zotac kind of pricing schemes for the Nano series, you're talking about anywhere from $300 to $350 for this device, so about half of the price for lower performance, but capable enough to do some of the things you want to do. So check out our full review at PCPro.com. We have other benchmarks and some photos of everything that when we took it apart, you can see the other side of it as well. And you know, keep this in mind if you're looking for a super small form factor computer and you don't need a lot of performance behind it. I'm Ryan Shrout. Thanks for watching.